The station called Celestial Bow floated like a silver charm against the giant planet below. The planet was a swirl of orange and blue gas, beautiful and silent. Inside the station, it was Christmas Eve. The air in the main plaza smelled like pine trees and spiced drinks. Soft music played, the old songs about snow and home. Fake snow fell from the ceiling, disappearing before it touched the warm floor. In a small room on the residential deck, Kim Jun watched the planet turn. His room was neat and plain. A few pictures on the wall showed green fields and a small house on Earth. It was quiet. The only sound was the low hum of the life support system, a sound he knew as well as his own breath. Jun worked as an environmental systems engineer. He made sure the air was clean, the water was recycled, and the gravity was just right. It was a good job, quiet job, suited him. He was a man who liked fixing things, who understood machines better than he understood people. His friend, Lee Chai-won, had tried to be kind. A few days ago, in the station cafeteria, she had smiled at him. "Jun, you shouldn't be alone on Christmas. I know someone, a Vel scientist, very smart. She is curious about human customs." Jun had felt a small flicker of hope. It had been a long time since he had shared a meal with anyone who wasn't a colleague. But the hope did not last. Chai-won had sent him a message that morning. Her words were careful. "I am so sorry, Jun. She heard you were a baseline human. No modifications." She said she was looking for a more compatible match. The rejection was not personal. It was biological. In a station full of species with natural armor or enhanced minds, he was just ordinary. An outsider. He looked away from the planet. The cheerful music from the plaza pipes felt like it was coming from another world. He decided he would not sit in his room. He would go to a bar, a quiet one. He put on a simple gray jacket and left. The bar was called the Gilded Lock. It was a place for station workers who were not celebrating. The lights were low. The music was just a soft beat. Jun sat on a stool at the end of the bar. The bartender, a large, gentle being with fur and soft eyes, a Taurian, nodded at him. Jun nodded back. He did not need to order. The bartender placed a cold bottle of beer in front of him. Jun took a slow drink. He watched the other customers. A few humans, some with subtle cybernetic markings on their temples. A group of slender Talaxians playing a complex game with floating lights. He felt separate from them all. He was a part of the station's machinery, necessary but invisible. He thought about his home, the farming colony. It was not exciting. It was simple. He had left to see the stars, but the stars were full of people who made him feel more alone than the empty fields ever had. The Christmas carols filtering in from the corridor sang of joy and togetherness. The words felt like a language he had forgotten. He finished his beer. The Taurian bartender was polishing a set of beautiful glass bottles behind the bar. They were from different worlds, filled with liquids of amber and deep blue. They were the bar's treasure. Jun was about to ask for another drink when the door to the bar slid open with a rough sound. Noise poured in. Loud voices, heavy footsteps. A group of 3 Draxians walked in. They were big, their bodies covered in thick, rust-colored scales. Their eyes were like yellow stones. They were a warrior species, known for their pride and their quick tempers. They filled the small space. Their leader, a massive one named Corv, laughed a harsh laugh. He looked around at the fake snow drifting in from the vent. "Look at this," he said, his voice like grinding rocks. "Human sentiment. Decorations for a story about a baby." His friends chuckled. They came to the bar, pushing past a Talaxian who scurried away. Corv slammed a heavy hand on the polished surface. "Serve us. Prupe drinks. Strong ones. Not this sweet water for weaklings." The Taurian bartender moved slowly, carefully. He spoke in a calm, low voice. "Of course. What is your preference?" But Corv was not interested in the menu. He was looking for a reaction. He poked a thick finger at a delicate ornament on the bar. "This place is as fragile as the humans who made it," he sneered. Then he shoved the bartender's arm. Hard. The Taurian stumbled back. His arm hit the rack holding the special bottles. The whole rack wobbled. The beautiful bottles, the bar's pride, teetered on the edge. The Taurian's eyes went wide with alarm. Corv just grinned, enjoying the show. June saw it happen in slow motion. He was not a fighter. His hands were made for tools, not fists. But he could not just watch. It was not about bravery. It was about a thing being broken for no reason. It was wrong. As the first bottle began to fall, June moved. He did not jump toward the Draxians. He slid off his stool and took 2 quick steps toward the rack. His hand went to the small device on his belt, a standard gravity calibrator used for fine-tuning local environments. He pointed it at the falling bottles and twisted a dial. The air around the bottles shimmered. For a second, the bottles hung in the air, falling as slowly as leaves in calm weather. It was just enough. June reached out and, with careful hands, caught each one. He placed them gently, one by one, back on the secure rack. The silence in the bar was complete. Everyone was staring at him. The Talaxians had stopped their game. The Draxians looked stunned. Corv's grin was gone, replaced by a look of confusion. June turned to face Corv. He did not raise his voice. He spoke clearly, like he was explaining a technical problem. Station Safety Code, Section 14, June said. Damaging environmental systems or a licensed vendor's property carries a penalty of 5,000 credits. Also, forced gravity alteration without a permit is a serious offense. I have a permit. He tapped the calibrator on his belt. Do you? Corv blinked. He was built for shouting and hitting. He was not built for rule books and calm questions. He looked at June's calm face, at the simple tool in his hand. He looked at his friends, who seemed unsure. With a final grunt of disgust, Corv turned. This place is boring, he muttered. The 3 Draxians pushed their way out of the bar, leaving the quiet behind them. June let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. His heart was beating fast. The Taurian bartender looked at him, his large eyes full of gratitude. Thank you, he said softly. June just nodded. He went back to his stool. He felt tired. He had not changed anything. He was still the outsider. But as he sat down, he became aware of a pair of eyes watching him from the darkest corner of the room. He had not noticed anyone sitting there. A shadow moved. The shape was tall, elegant, and completely still. The quiet in the bar felt heavier after the Draxians left. The fake snow kept falling outside the door. Kim June looked at his beer bottle. He did not feel like drinking anymore. His hands were steady, but inside he felt a strange emptiness. He had just faced down a warrior, but he did not feel like a hero. He felt like a man who had fixed a leaky pipe. It was just a job that needed doing. The Taurian bartender placed a fresh bottle in front of him. For you, the bartender said, his voice a low rumble. No charge. June wanted to say it was not necessary, but he only nodded again. He was not a man of many words. He took a small sip. He could feel the eyes on him from the dark booth in the corner. He did not look over. He was used to being looked at with curiosity or pity. This felt different. This gaze was not curious. It was measuring. It was like being studied by a very careful machine, slowly. He turned his head. In the shadow of the booth sat a Draconian. But she was nothing like the ones who had just left. Her scales were not a rusty red. They were a deep, dark green. The low light of the bar made them shimmer like a still forest pool. She wore a simple, dark tunic. Her hands were folded on the table. They were elegant, with long fingers and sharp, clean claws. Her face was narrow, with a proud line to her jaw. And her eyes? They were a striking gold, flecked with bits of darker color. They watched him without blinking. She moved. It was a smooth, deliberate motion. She stood up from the booth. She was tall, nearly as tall as the Draxian leader, but where he was all bulk, she was all lean strength. She walked toward him. Her steps were silent. The other people in the bar watched her, but they did not stare. They looked away quickly, as if it was not safe to look for too long. She stopped beside his stool. She did not sit. She stood there, looking down at him. June finally looked up to meet her eyes. They were ancient and sharp. That was efficiently done. she said. Her voice surprised him. It was not rough or grating. It was a clear, strong voice. It was like a deep bell made of metal and honey. Every word was precise. June did not know what to say. "Thank you," he finally managed. It sounded weak. "You used a Class 3 environmental calibrator," she continued. She was not asking. She was stating a fact. "You altered the local gravity field by 0.05% for approximately 4 seconds. Just enough to prevent kinetic disaster. Minimal energy use. Maximum effect." He was surprised she knew the specs. "Yes," he said. "It was the tool I had. A warrior would have used his fists," she said. "He would have caused damage. He would have made noise. You used a tool and a rule book. You solved the problem without creating a new one." Her head tilted slightly. "This is a rare skill." June felt uncomfortable. He was not used to this much attention. It seemed like the right thing to do. To act, or to act correctly? She asked. There was a real question in her tone. He thought about it. "To stop the bottles from breaking," he said honestly. The correct way was just the way that worked. A very small change happened around her mouth. It was not a smile, not as a human would know it, but it was a sign of approval. "I am Yuna," she said, "of the Obsidian Wing." June had heard of the Obsidian Wing. They were one of the major Draconian clans. Powerful. Old. He was talking to someone important. "I am Kim June. I work in environmental systems. On Deck 7. "I know," Yuna said. She finally sat on the stool next to him. The bartender did not come over. He seemed to understand his presence was not required. "Your work keeps the air in the garden stable. You recently recalibrated the recyclers in the hydroponics bay. Efficiency increased by 8%. June was stunned. How did she know that? Why would she care? "It's my job," he repeated, feeling foolish. "Tell me, Kim June," Yuna said. Her gold eyes locked on his. "Why are you here on this station? So far from your human world?" It was a personal question. He could have refused to answer, but her gaze was direct. It demanded the same honesty he had just shown. "I am from a farming colony," he said. It was quiet. "I wanted to see more. I am good with systems. Stations need that." "And do you find the more you were looking for?" she asked. He looked around the bar. At the fake snow. At the people who did not see him. He thought of the blind date that never was. "It is different," he said carefully. "It is not always what you think it will be." Yuna was silent for a long moment. She seemed to be weighing his words, his posture, the tone of his voice. "You are an outsider here," she stated. It was not unkind. It was just true. "Yes," June admitted. There was no point in denying it. "I understand this," Yuna said, and for the first time, her voice held a note of something else. Not sadness, but a sharp recognition. To be surrounded by one's own kind, yet to be separate. To have a role you did not choose. June waited. He did not know what this was. A draconian scion was sharing a feeling with him. It made no sense. Yuna leaned forward just a little. The air around her seemed to grow still. "Kim June," she said, her voice dropping, but losing none of its power. "I have a proposition for you. A contract." June blinked. "A contract? For engineering work?" "No," she said. "For a partnership. Of a personal nature." She paused, as if choosing the next words with great care. "Be my husband?" The words hung in the air between them. The Christmas carols from the plaza seemed to fade away. The hum of the bar's cooler was the only sound. June stared at her. He searched her face for a joke, for a sign of trickery. He saw only that fierce, golden seriousness that he let out a short, disbelieving breath. It was almost a laugh, but there was no humor in it. "I am sorry," he said. "The translator must be broken." It said husband. "The translator is functioning," Yuna said, her tone unchanged. "I am asking you to enter a binding marital contract with me, to become my consort." June shook his head slowly. He looked at the bartender, who was pointedly looking at the floor. He looked back at Yuna. You do not know me. I am a human, a basic human. You saw me for 5 minutes in a bar. I have observed you for 17 days. Yuna corrected him calmly. Since your recalibration of the hydroponic systems came to my attention. I have read your work logs. I have seen your conduct. Tonight, I saw your character. She placed her hands flat on the bar. Her claws tapped the metal once. I do not need to know your favorite color or your dreams, Kim Jun. I know your measure. You are calm. You are practical. You are honorable in a quiet way. You are outside the games that plague my world. These are the qualities I require. Jun's mind was spinning. This was not happening. A few hours ago, he was rejected for being too ordinary. Now, he was being asked for marriage because of it. This is not a reason for marriage, he said weakly. It is my reason, Yuna said. She stood up. The conversation, for now, was over. Think on it. I will find you tomorrow. The offer is real. The need is immediate. She turned and walked toward the door. She did not look back. The bar door slid open and then closed behind her, leaving John alone with his half-finished beer and a question that seemed to echo in the sudden, overwhelming silence. The silence in Jun's small room was louder than any machine. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the wall. The image of the gas giant outside his viewport was no longer a comfort. It was just a big, swirling ball of gas. His mind was a mess. Be my husband. The words repeated in his head. He stood up and paced. 3 steps to the left, 3 steps to the right. The room felt like a cage. He thought about the draconian Yuna, her green scales, her gold eyes, the absolute seriousness in her voice. She was not joking. She was not crazy. She was a high-ranking person in a powerful clan. And she had asked him, "Why?" He said out loud to the empty room, but he thought about her reasons. She said she had watched him. She said she knew his work. She said he was calm, practical, and outside of her world's games. It sounded like she was hiring a technician, not choosing a partner for life. A marriage of convenience. He had read about such things in old Earth history books. But this was not history. This was now. This was his life. He thought about his own life. The quiet work. The small room. The rejected blind date. He was a functional part of the station, like a pipe or a wire. Useful but invisible. Yuna's offer was a door to a different world. A world of status, of power, of what? Politics and danger. He was an engineer. He fixed air filters. He did not know how to be a draconian consort. A soft chime came from his door. He jumped. His heart pounded. Was it her? Already, he took a breath and opened the door. It was not Yuna. It was Lee Chai-won. Her face was full of friendly concern. She held a small box. "Merry Christmas, June," she said. Then she saw his face. "What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." June let her in. He did not know where to start. He pointed to his only chair. Chai-won sat, placing the box on his small table. It smelled like ginger cookies. "Something happened," June said, sitting back on the bed. "At the blind date?" Chai-won asked, her face falling. "I am so sorry, June. I should never have—" "No," June interrupted. "There was no date. I went to the Gilded Lock." He told her everything. The Draxians, the falling bottles, the gravity calibrator, and then the figure in the shadows. Yuna, the conversation, the offer. As he spoke, Chaewon's eyes grew wider and wider. Her mouth fell open. When he finished, she just stared at him. For a full minute, she said nothing. The only sound was the hum of the life support. "Yuna?" she finally whispered. "Yuna of the Obsidian Wing asked you to marry her?" June nodded. "You know her?" "Know her?" Chai-won let out a breath. "Everyone knows of her, June. She's not just a draconian. She's a scion. Her family controls a big part of the mineral trade in this sector. She's famous and infamous. She's known to be very smart and very, very tough." Chai-won leaned forward. "And she wants to marry you because you saved some bottles?" "She said it was about how I did it," June said, feeling defensive. She said she needed someone from outside her world's games. Chai-won sat back, thinking hard. Her initial shock was turning into sharp curiosity. Okay, let's think. The draconian warrior clans. They are all about strength. Politics for them is like a constant fight. The males fight for power. The females are often treated like prizes to be won, to make alliances. She looked at June. If what you say is true, she doesn't want a warrior husband. A warrior would try to take her power. He would bring his own messy politics. So she picks a human who knows nothing about it? June asked. She picks a human who can't play the game. Chai-won corrected. A human who is strong in a different way. The way you were in the bar. You didn't fight Corv. You outthought him. You used the rules. She snapped her fingers. You're a neutral piece. You have no side except hers. The idea settled in June's mind. It was cold. It was logical. It made a terrible kind of sense. So it is just a business deal, he said. The word husband felt hollow. Maybe it starts that way, Chai-won said softly. She looked at her friend. She saw the loneliness in his eyes, the quiet way he carried his disappointment. June, listen. I set you up on that date because I thought you wanted connection. Maybe this is a different kind of connection. A strange one. A scary one. But it's not nothing. She saw something in you. Something real. June looked at his hands. They were good hands. They could fix a broken pump. They could calibrate a gravity field. Could they hold the hand of a dragon? The thought was absurd. What do I do? He asked, his voice quiet. You have to decide if you want to stay in this room, Chai-won said, gesturing around. Or if you want to walk through that door she's holding open. It won't be easy. People will talk. They will be cruel. The Draconians might hate you. But, she paused, you wouldn't be invisible anymore. That was the heart of it. Invisible. He had been invisible for so long. Yuna's offer was not about love. It was about being seen. Seen for the qualities he actually had, not the ones he lacked. She said she would find me tomorrow, June said. Then you have tonight to think, Chai-won said. She stood up and gave him a quick, tight hug. It was awkward, but it was warm. Whatever you choose, I am your friend. Be careful, June. But also, be a little brave. After she left, June sat in the dark. He did not sleep. He watched the gas giant turn. He thought about the farm, the simple sky. He thought about the station, its endless, humming corridors. He thought about a pair of gold-flecked eyes that looked at him and saw a person, not a baseline human. When the station's artificial morning light began to glow softly from the ceiling, he was still sitting there. But his mind was no longer a mess. It was quiet. He had made a decision. He did not know if it was right. He only knew it was his. The artificial morning light filled June's room. He had washed his face and put on clean clothes. He felt tired, but his mind was clear. He needed answers. He needed to know exactly what Yuna was offering, and what she wanted in return. A business deal required clear terms. He did not wait for her to find him. He went to find her. He knew she would be in the high-tier residential decks, where the important people lived. The air was different there. It smelled cleaner, more expensive. The corridors were wider. A station security officer, a human, stopped him at a checkpoint. This area is for diplomatic personnel and senior staff, the officer said, looking June's simple clothes up and down. I have a meeting with Scion Yuna of the Obsidian Wing, June said. His voice was calm. He was stating a fact. The officer's eyebrows went up. He checked his tablet, tapping the screen. His expression changed from doubt to surprise. You are expected, he said slowly. He stepped aside. Suite 12A. Down the hall to the right. The door to Suite 12A was not like other doors. It was made of a dark, polished wood, a rare thing on a space station. It had a simple symbol carved into it, a wing made of what looked like black crystal. June took a deep breath and pressed the chime. The door opened almost immediately. It was not Yuna. It was an older draconian male. His scales were a faded gray-green, and his face was lined with deep marks. He wore a simple, dark robe. His eyes were a pale yellow, and they looked at June with a sharp, intelligent gaze. He did not seem surprised. "Kim June," the old Draconian said. His voice was dry, like stones rubbing together. "I am Tae-san. Enter." "She is waiting." June stepped inside. The room was nothing like his own. It was spacious. One entire wall was a viewport, showing a breathtaking view of the gas giant and the stars. The furniture was simple but beautiful, made of dark metal and more real wood. There were no Christmas decorations here. Yuna stood by the viewport, her back to him. She was dressed in a similar dark tunic as the night before. "You came," she said, without turning around. "I thought you might. Tae-san, please leave us." The old Draconian bowed his head slightly and left through a side door. June was alone with her. Yuna turned. Her gold eyes found his. "You have questions?" "Yes," June said. He stayed standing near the door. "You asked me to be your husband. But you do not know me. I do not know you. This is not a small thing. It is the most important contract of my life," Yuna said, walking toward him. She stopped a few feet away. "That is why I am being careful. I will explain." "Sit." June sat on a firm, low chair. Yuna sat across from him. She folded her hands in her lap. "My clan, the Obsidian Wing, is old and proud," she began. "Our strength has always been in clear thinking and strong alliances. But lately, the warrior factions have grown loud. They believe strength is only in the fist and the shout. They push for mates who are the biggest, the fiercest. They think this makes the clan strong." She looked out the viewport for a moment. "I am the last direct scion of my family line. Pressure is on me to take a mate. The candidates are all like Corv, the one you saw. Brutes. They would not be my partner. They would be my warden. They would use my name to grab power for themselves and their families. They would drag our clan into endless, stupid fights." She looked back at June, her gaze intense. "I do not want a warrior. I want a partner. Consort. I need someone with a different kind of strength. The strength to be calm when others are angry. The strength to see a system, not just a fight. You showed me that last night." June listened. Her words were clear. They made a cold, hard sense. "So I would be a symbol," he said. "A human symbol of your rejection of the old ways." "You would be a practical solution," Yuna corrected. "A symbol is just an idea. Partner is a real person who acts. You would stand beside me. In public, you would be my consort. In private, you would be my advisor. Your perspective, your way of thinking is valuable to me. It is something none of my own people can give me." "And what do I get?" June asked. He felt strange asking, but it was necessary. Yuna nodded, approving of the question. "Status, protection, resources. You would have access to learning, to travel, to a life far beyond this station room. You would have a purpose within a powerful family. And," she paused, "you would have my respect and my loyalty. This is not a trick, Kim June. This is an alliance. I keep my contracts." The offer was huge. It was everything his lonely life was not. But it came with a price. "There will be problems," he said. "Your people will not accept me. They will see me as weak. They will try to hurt you through me. They will try." Yuna agreed, her voice firm. "That is why I need someone who will not panic, who will not try to fight them on their terms. You will be a rock in a stormy sea. You will be unshakable in your own way. That is your strength." June was quiet for a long time. He looked at his hands, then at her. "You are asking me to leave my whole life behind, to step into a world I do not understand." "I am offering you a new life," Yuna said. "I cannot promise it will be safe or easy, but I can promise it will not be boring. And you will not be alone." The word alone echoed in the room. June thought of his empty quarters, the silent meals, the feeling of being a ghost in the machine. He thought of Yuna, sitting alone in the dark bar, watching. She was alone too, in a different way, surrounded by people, but with no one she could trust. He stood up. Yuna watched him, her expression unreadable. "I need to think," he said. But not for long. I will give you my answer tonight. Yuna stood as well. That is fair. She walked him to the door. As he was about to leave, she spoke again.
Kim Yoon.
You asked what you would get. There is one more thing. He turned. A family, she said quietly. Not of blood, but of purpose. Place where you are needed. Not for what you are not, but for what you are. June did not know what to say. He just nodded and walked out into the corridor. The door closed behind him with a soft, final sound. He walked back toward the lower decks, toward his own small room. But he felt like he was already leaving it behind. The terms were clear. The choice was his. All he had to do was decide what kind of man he wanted to be. The station's day cycle moved on. Christmas Day was ending. The festive music in the main plaza was replaced by softer, general evening sounds. June walked. He did not go back to his room. He walked through the hydroponics gardens, where the air was thick with the smell of soil and growing things. He walked past the busy engineering bays, where his colleagues waved but did not stop him. He was in his own world. Yuna's words played in his head. Family. A place where you are needed. He thought about the farm. His family there was small and far away. They loved him, but they did not understand why he left. Here, on the station, he had Chaiwon, but she had her own life. He was a satellite, orbiting other people's lives but never landing. He found himself at the observation deck. It was quiet here. The giant planet filled the view. A vast, swirling painting of orange and blue. It was beautiful, but it was also empty. A giant ball of gas with no life in it. For the first time, it looked lonely to him. He heard a soft step behind him. He did not need to turn. He knew who it was. He could feel her presence, like a change in the air pressure. Yuna came to stand beside him. She did not speak at first. She just looked at the planet. The light from it played on her green scales, making them look deep and liquid. It is a peaceful view, she said finally. It is, June agreed. But it's not a home. It's just a view. Yuna turned her head to look at him. Have you decided? June took a deep breath. He had walked for hours, thinking in circles. But here, now, looking at the emptiness outside, the answer felt simple. It was not a happy answer. It was not a sad one. It was just true. Yes, he said. He faced her. Her gold eyes were waiting. I will do it. I will be your husband. But on one condition. She tilted her head. Name it. Partners, June said firmly. You said it yourself. Not a symbol. Not a warden. Partners. We make decisions together. You respect my opinion, even if it is about things I do not know. I will learn your world, but you cannot just tell me what to do. It has to be real. A slow, real smile touched Yuna's lips. It was small, but it warmed her fierce eyes. That is not a condition, Kim June. That is the agreement. Partners. I accept. She held out her hand, not in a human handshake, but palm up, fingers slightly curled. It was a draconian gesture of binding. June placed his hand in hers. Her scales were smooth and surprisingly warm. Her fingers closed gently around his. The grip was strong, but it was not meant to crush. It was meant to hold. Then it is done, she said softly. The next hours were a blur. Tae-san, the old draconian, appeared as if by magic. He took them to the station's legal registry. The official, a flustered human woman, processed the paperwork for an interspecies marital contract. It was not a wedding. There was no ceremony. There were no flowers or music. Chaiwon arrived, her eyes wide, to act as June's witness. Tae-san stood for Yuna. June signed his name on the digital screen. Yuna made a mark with a sharp, elegant claw. The official stamped the document. Congratulations, she said, her voice unsure. You are legally bonded. It was that simple. In 10 minutes, his life changed forever. News traveled through the station faster than air through a broken seal. June could feel it as he walked with Yuna back toward the high-tier decks. People stared. They whispered. He heard snippets. The human engineer. Bought him, probably. What is she thinking? Chaiwon walked beside him for a while. You are sure about this? She whispered. No, June said honestly. But I am doing it. She squeezed his arm. Then I am happy for you. Be careful. When they reached Yuna's suite, Taysan was waiting inside. He had brought June's few belongings from his old room. They were in a single small bag in the corner of the large living space. It looked pitiful. Your things, Consort June, Taysan said with a slight bow. The title sounded strange. Thank you, Taysan, June said. Yuna dismissed Taysan. When they were alone again, the silence felt different. It was not the quiet of being by themselves. It was the quiet of two strangers in a new, shared space. This is your home now, Yuna said, gesturing around. The side room is for you. It is private. June nodded. He picked up his small bag. He felt awkward. What happens now? He asked. Now, Yuna said, her voice taking on a harder edge. We prepare. Tomorrow, I must introduce you to a gathering of my clan members on the station. They will not be kind. They will test you. They will try to make you look weak or make you angry. June felt a knot of fear in his stomach. What should I do? What you do best, Yuna said. Be calm. Listen. Do not try to fight them. Do not try to be a draconian. Be a human. Be the man who fixed a problem in a bar with a tool and a rule book. That man is stronger than they know. She looked at him, and for a moment, he saw a flicker of something like concern in her gold eyes. This will be difficult, but we will face it together. That is the promise. June carried his bag to the side room. It was simple, clean, and bigger than his old quarters. He put his few clothes in the drawer. He placed the picture of his family's farm on the bedside table. He sat on the bed. He was married. He was a consort. He was about to walk into a room full of dragons who wanted him to fail. The fear was there, a cold stone in his gut. But underneath the fear, there was something else. A small, steady feeling. It was not happiness, not yet. It was purpose. For the first time in a long time, he was not just maintaining a system. He was part of one. A broken, complicated, dangerous one. But he was needed. He had a partner. And tomorrow they had a job to do. The gathering was in a private hall on the diplomatic deck. It was not a friendly party. The air felt heavy and warm. Draconians stood in small groups. Their low conversations a rumble like distant thunder. Their scales were many colors. Deep reds, browns, blues. They were all larger than June. Their eyes, yellow and orange and red, tracked him the moment he entered with Yuna. Yuna walked beside him, her head high. She wore a formal robe of black and silver. June wore the best clothes he owned, simple gray pants and a dark jacket. He felt like a mouse walking among wolves. Taysan was there, standing quietly by a wall. He gave June a small, almost invisible nod. A large draconian with bronze scales stepped forward. It was Corv from the bar. A nasty smile spread across his face. So, the little human technician, he said loudly so everyone could hear. I heard you found a new tool to play with, Yuna. Does it come with a manual? A few low laughs came from the crowd. Yuna's expression did not change. Corv, this is my consort, Kim June. You will show respect. Respect is earned, Corv said, stepping closer to June. He looked down at him. What can a human do for the Obsidian Wing? Can you fight? Can you lead warriors? Can you do anything besides play with air filters? All eyes were on June. The fear was a cold knot in his stomach. He remembered Yuna's words. Do not try to fight them. Be the man from the bar. June looked up at Corv. He did not glare. He did not frown. He kept his face calm. I cannot lead warriors, June said, his voice clear and steady in the quiet room. But I can read an energy grid. I can tell you that the secondary power conduit on Deck 9 has a 12% efficiency loss. It is wasting enough energy to power 3 fighter shuttles. If the clan has warriors, they need power to fly. The room went very still. Corv blinked. He was ready for an insult or for fear. He was not ready for a technical report. Another draconian, an older female with faded blue scales, spoke from the side. How do you know this? June turned to her. He kept his hands relaxed at his sides. I reviewed the public station maintenance logs. The pattern is clear in the thermal readouts. It is a simple heat loss problem. Probably a faulty coupling. He shrugged slightly. It is my job to notice systems. The blue-scaled female looked thoughtful. She turned to Yuna. Is this true? It is, Yuna said, a note of pride in her voice. His work has already improved station systems. He sees what others miss. Korv scoffed, but he sounded less sure. So he is a good mechanic. We have mechanics. But do they look at our problems? A new voice asked. It was a younger draconian with dark gray scales. He stepped forward. He looked at June with curiosity, not anger. I am Day. I handle our mining operations. We have a problem. Our deep asteroid drills keep failing. The vibration sensors break. We think it is bad parts or maybe sabotage. Can your system seeing look at a mining drill? It was a real question. A challenge, but a practical one. June felt a shift. This was not about him being human. This was about a broken machine. I do not know mining drills, June admitted honestly. But I know sensors. And I know patterns. If you show me the failure data, the maintenance logs, the energy spikes before each break, I can look. I might see something your mechanics do not, because I am looking for different things. Day looked at Yuna. May he? Yuna gave a single, sharp nod. That is why he is here. To offer a new perspective. For the rest of the gathering, the mood changed. It did not become friendly, but the open hostility faded. Some draconians ignored June completely. Others, like Day, asked him quiet questions about efficiency, about repair cycles. June answered what he could. He said, I do not know when he did not know. He did not pretend. Later, back in Yuna's suite, June let out a long breath. He felt tired, like he had just finished a long, difficult repair. Yuna poured 2 glasses of water. She handed one to him. You did well, she said. Korv was hoping for a fight. You gave him a budget report. It was perfect. June drank the water. Day's problem. The mining drills. Can I really help with that? You can look, Yuna said. That is all I ask. The drills are important. The failures are costing us money and trust. My clan's engineers are good, but they think like draconians. They look for a fight, for an enemy breaking things. You look for a broken piece. A different enemy. She sat down near him. This is what I need, June. Not a warrior to shout back. A partner who sees the battlefield differently. The next day, Day sent the data. June sat at a terminal in their suite. He ignored the schematics of the big, scary drills. He looked at the numbers. Failure times. Energy consumption logs. Vibration sensor readings before each breakdown. He made graphs. He looked for patterns not in space, but in time. For hours he saw nothing. Just random breaks. Then he noticed it. It was small. Every time a drill failed, the station's local gravity calibration in that sector showed a tiny, tiny spike. It was so small the engineers had ignored it. It was not enough to affect anything. But it was there. Perfect match. He called Yuna and Day over. He pointed at his screen. Look, it is not the drill. Or not just the drill. It is the environment. Right before each failure, the gravity in the asteroid field shifts. Just a little. It is like someone is testing a gravity generator, or a ship with a powerful drive is turning on nearby. That tiny shift adds extra stress to the drill's weakest point, the sensor housing. Cracks. Then the whole drill fails. Day stared at the graph. His eyes widened. A gravity spike from a ship? But no ship logs match that timing. Then it is a ship that is not logging its location, Yuna said, her voice turning cold as ice. A ship that is hiding. Someone is not just sabotaging our drills, Day. They are watching. They wait for the precise moment to turn on their drive, cause a spike, and break our equipment from a distance. They are not even there when it happens. The room was silent. The problem was no longer a mystery of broken parts. It was a pattern of attack. June, with his simple graphs and his outsider's eye, had found the enemy's footprint. The quiet in the suite was heavy. Yuna looked from June's graph to Day's shocked face. Her golden eyes had turned hard, like old metal. This was no longer about a broken machine. It was about a hidden enemy. "We must take this to the full clan council," Yuna said, her voice low. "Now. Day, prepare the data. June, you will come. You will explain what you found." June felt a jolt of fear. The clan gathering had been bad enough. The council sounded worse. "They will not want to listen to me," he said. "They will listen to truth," Yuna said. "And you are the one who found it. This is what partners do." An hour later, June stood in a circular council chamber. The draconian elders sat on stone benches that rose in tiers. They were old, their scales dulled with age, but their eyes were sharp. Corv was there, glaring. Yuna stood in the center, tall and straight. Day stood beside a view screen. June stood slightly behind Yuna, trying to be invisible. Yuna spoke first. She explained the drill failures. She spoke of lost resources and growing weakness. Then she nodded to Day. Day displayed the mining logs. He talked about the search for faulty parts for saboteurs on the crew. He found nothing. Then he looked at June. Our consort, Kim June, examined the data with a different eye. He found the cause. All the ancient, sharp eyes turned to June. The air felt too thick to breathe. Yuna gave him a small nod. June stepped forward. He felt like he was stepping off a cliff. He pointed to the graph on the screen. His hand was steady. "The drills did not break themselves," he began, his voice quieter than theirs but clear. "And no one touched them. The breaks were caused from far away." He explained about the tiny gravity spikes. He showed the pattern, the perfect match with each failure time. "It is like a hammer," he said, using a simple human idea. "You do not need to hit the glass directly. If you hit the table it is on just right, the glass will crack. Someone was hitting the asteroid field's gravity, just right, to crack your drills." An elder with dark gray scales, the oldest in the room, leaned forward. "A ship? Which rival clan?" June shook his head. "I do not know ships. I know systems. The data says a gravity drive was activated in that sector at those exact times. But your station logs show no ship there. So it is a ship that can hide from your sensors. Or," he paused, looking at the internal station schematics Day had also provided. "Or it is not a ship at all. The spike is very small, very precise. Could be a device. A device placed on one of your own support stations in the field. Something that turns on, makes a tiny gravity pull, and turns off." A ripple went through the council. "A device." A traitor. Day's face went pale with understanding. He typed fast on his tablet, pulling up new logs. "The maintenance logs for support station Theta," he said, his voice rising. "The same junior tech aide, a male named Goran, has signed off on repairs there before every single failure." Corv stood up, his face a mask of rage. "He is from my cousin's family. This is a lie to make me look bad." "No," the oldest elder said, his voice like stone. "It is data." He looked at June, his gaze piercing. "Human, you found a single loose thread. And now we have pulled it, and a traitor is revealed." He turned to Yuna. "Your consort has done a service to the clan." Yuna placed a hand on June's shoulder. The touch was firm, solid. "He sees what we do not. This is his strength." The council moved quickly then. Security was called. Goran was found in his quarters trying to delete files. He confessed, naming a rival clan that had promised him status. The hidden gravity pulse device was recovered from the support station. The problem was solved, not with claws or weapons, but with a graph and a question. Days later, the station was quiet again. The Christmas decorations were gone. On New Year's Eve, June stood with Yuna on their observation deck. The gas giant was there and the stars. It was the same view, but everything was different. June was not the same man. He was still quiet. He still liked to fix things. But he was not invisible. He was the consort who had found the traitor. Some draconians still looked at him with dislike, but now others looked at him with respect. Or at least with curiosity. Yuna stood beside him, her shoulder almost touching his. "The council has approved a new trade proposal," she said. "The one you suggested about water reclamation technology from your home colony. They see the value in it." June nodded. It was a small thing, but it was a start. Yuna was silent for a moment, watching the stars. "I did not seek a husband to fight my battles, June," she said softly. "I sought one to see them differently. You have given me that. You have given the clan that." June looked at her. In the starlight, her green scales were dark, her gold eyes bright. She was fierce and proud and strong. And she was his partner. It was not a love story from a song. It was something real. It was an alliance. It was trust. "I saw a broken system," June said. "You gave me the tools to fix it." Yuna's hand found his, her warm, scaled fingers laced with his human ones. It was not awkward anymore. It was just them. Below them, the station hummed, a giant machine full of life and noise and conflict. Ahead of them, the stars were silent and cold. They stood there together, two outsiders who had built a bridge between their worlds. Their story was not about a happy ending. It was about a strong beginning. And for the first time in a very long time, Kim June did not feel alone. He was home.